Well, I was born in Colorado in 1925 in the town of Boulder. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that town, but I graduated from Boulder High School in 1943, and I was drafted in August of 43. So I went into the service 18 years old, and they took, they gave us all this mental test, you know, and I got into the top 10%. So they said, you can go in the Air Corps if you want to. So I always wanted to be a pilot, but I didn't quite make that. I was one of those guys that, they need a lot of gunners in those days, so they said, you can still fly, you can get your wings, and so I took that. I went to my basic training was in Shepherd Field, Texas. And after that, I went to gunnery school in Harlingen. I suppose there's a few that know where that is. First plane I ever flew in was an AT-6. And I got in this plane, and you're sitting backwards, you know. We're going up to shoot at tow targets drawn by lady pilots in the WAF, I think they call them. And they were pulling these tow targets in B-24, which was a tough plane to fly, I guess, anyway. But incidentally, I met a gal that did that up at the north, you know, the museum they have up north there. And so she wanted our picture taken together because she'd known we had done this together. Anyhow, here I am up in this, first time I've ever been in an airplane. And the pilot says, when you get through shooting, says, wave your gun up and down, and then turn that backward, sit down, and so here I'm, and then I wave my gun up and down, sit down, and he takes that thing, he goes just like this, you know, right down over the Gulf, you know, and I can see these white caps and stuff, and my cheeks are hanging down to here. So that was my first experience in flying. Well, anyhow, after we went through gunnery school, I went to Lincoln, Nebraska to join my crew and pick up our new airplane, had a new shiny B-24. And so they needed a picture on it, of course. So they drafted me, I'd do a little painting. So I painted a picture of a scantily clad lady. And we called it the Homeward Angel. And we went to, from there we flew up to Boise on a special mission. Don knows about this because it was Operation Pinball, where we shot at P-39s with plastic bullets, you know, and then there was a little light in the spinner would light if you hit the plane. I don't know if I ever hit it, but he was in on that deal. And I don't know if up there, but...
Never hit me.
Well, after we picked up the crew, and we went from there to Bangor, Maine, Newfoundland, the Azores. I know there's a lot of people have gone there. Into North Africa. And from North Africa, we went to Venosa, Italy. That's a real small town. It was a 485th Bomb Group, and so I was assigned to the 829th Bomb Squadron. And incidentally, I'm a tail gunner on this B-24. So we put in 35 missions, and I returned in March 30th of 1945. One of the missions that we had, we were lucky, we were over there a little later when a lot of the fighters were not flying anymore. They just, you know, they'd hit you out of the clouds and stuff like that. So we went on this one mission that's particularly that I remember was the 10th mission of July 26th. We were supposed to bomb 2 targets that day. Now, the name of the first one was, now I don't know how to pronounce this stuff, but Wolfboxing Aerodrome in Vienna. That was the first one. And the second was some Beth Haley or something like that, Hungary. Well, they were supposed to, there was 34 B-24s took off, and they rendezvoused with the 460th Bomb Group and the escort. And we got up close to the target. I can't remember whether we bombed the first one or not, but we were in KLN Charlie, number 7 in the box. And we were flying along there. My co-pilot, his name was Merton W. Baker. I don't know if any of you remember Fibber McGinn Molly, where he'd go on the phone and he'd say, and then he'd get his answer, he'd say, "Is that you, Mert?" Do you remember that? Yeah. Well, every time he called me up on the intercom, I'd always say, "Is that you, Mert?" No. Well, he said, "Watch those guys out there." He says, "That looks like they're going to turn in." And it wasn't but about 2 seconds later, the ME-109 went like this past the tail. I could hear that, you know, how it ripped right through the plane. And I took a burst at that guy on his way down, and both of my guns jammed. Neither one of them would work. In those days, this was a brand new plane, and they had put link chutes on the guns so that the armors didn't have to clean all them links out of the bottom of the turret, you know. And they had turned just that way and jammed both of the guns. Lucky I had a screwdriver in there with me. So I'm out here, I'm prying on that gun, and I got the left one working. But about that time, upper gunner says, 6 o'clock, he says, there are 2 FW-190s. And I look back, here they're coming up through the vapor trails, you know. They must have been, 1,000 yards or more away. So I take this one left gun, and I took one burst at one, little puff of smoke came out, dropped these wheels, and he took off. The other one, he just kept coming. And I'm spraying this guy because that one gun's pulling that turret around like crazy, you know. And he comes up close enough, you can see his goggles, you know, and he's that close, but there's fire coming out from the cowling. And he goes down, ball gunner says, "That's the way to go, Ben." But I didn't see him explode, so all I got was a probable and a damage that day. That's really the only time we really got hit by fighters. But when that ME-109 made the pass from the nose, 20 millimeter shell went in front of the number 3 engine and right behind the co-pilot and hit the navigator, was sitting in the radio operator's chair. He didn't like to be down in the nose. And he didn't want to get shot down. He was Jewish, and he says, "I know that if I get shot down, that's going to be bad." But it went through his flak suit, exploded inside of him, and so that was our only real casualty on our crew. And when the FW-190s were coming up from the back, he popped a couple of 20 millimeters right up where the stabilizer hooks on. And so he was trying to kill me too, I guess, I don't know. Well, anyhow, we got back okay. Then that shell took the prop governor right off the number 3 engine, and the thing flew all the way back. Never missed that thing. And after I finished my 35, the last mission we had was a milk run. I was glad of that. We didn't have too much flak. Flak was tough up until that time. Our first 2 missions were over Vienna and Munich. And you know, a green kid, I'm 19 years old. I'm sitting back there looking around like, nothing's going on, you know. We get 16 holes in the plane from flak. And they seem to get less every mission you flew. And if you get 2 or 3 on the 30th, like, boy, you think it's something. But we finished, and I sat right on the radar ball when I went on my last mission. Never had a gun or anything. I just sat on my flak suit, pulled my helmet down over my head, and got through that 35th and got out, kissed the ground and all that. So, you know. So after that, we came back overseas. I came back on a ship called the Mariposa. It was liner. And we hit, big 20-foot waves and stuff. And the old back end would come out and the screw would go boom, 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 boom. And I never got, not seasick, but about 90% of the guys on there got seasick. And I guess because of the way the tail goes in that airplane, got kind of used to it. But we got home, and after a leave, I went to training down in Laredo, Texas, for remote control turrets. They were on the B-29s then. And went home for another leave, and I was stationed in Las Vegas, Nevada for the rest of the war. And it was so close, that the war in Europe had already ended. And we heard about the big bomb, and we thought it was going to end. We'd go into the classroom, and the young guys would come in and say, we're giving, you know this, you know this, you know this. Okay, then we go play pinochle. So I got my discharge, got married in 1950, had 4 kids, and by golly, I'm still married to the same gal. So that's about my story.